Hello everyone, welcome back to Crisis Talk. I am William, and thanks again for joining us. Please stay tuned, we've got a good episode for you.
Yes, and I am Plumi, and I can't wait to get into this topic and conversation. Yeah.
Hi guys, and it's Shy, Aquarius Queen, back again.
Yes, Aquarius.
Yep.
Hello, hi, it's Davine. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Yes. So today, what we are going to be talking about is the whole Twitter scandal that happened yesterday, with influencers being exposed as colorist and racist due to their tweets that they tweeted when they were younger.
Some not so young.
Yeah,
some not, yes,
grown people.
Some not so young.
Grown.
And right now, the person that seems to be getting the most brunt of the hate is Nella Rose. So we're going to be discussing that. We're also going to be discussing about cancel culture in general, and then we're going to be talking about our Black people, their own worst enemy. So first of all, let's start with Nella Rose. What are you guys' opinions and thoughts on the whole situation? And
I don't know. I feel like I feel like people have definitely taken a bit too far, and I feel like we can cut some slack. Some of these tweets are all the way like 2013, 2012 time. This is 7-8 years ago. Like the world wasn't this PC political correctness place it was as it was back then. You know what I mean? Like maybe she was joking, maybe the intention was malicious, but I feel like we should cut a bit of slack. Like no, what she said was not nice, but at the end of the day, she is a Black woman, so I think some people might have overreacted.
Yeah, I think that she is just like getting the brunt of it because of how influential she is and the amount of the wider audience that she has. Because there are other people that have said things as well. And I think it's just really bad that it just seems to be all on her. What do you think, Shai?
Yeah, I've just been trying to find some of the tweets because I feel like one thing I found when trying to get ready for this episode is it is so hard to find these tweets. Everyone's talking about the tweets, but it's so hard to find the actual ones that everyone's
spree as soon as
speaking about. Yeah, the deleting spree is real. Like I've had to, when I'm trying to find, because I didn't just want to find tweets from Nella Rose, but I'm just having to go to like subtweets, like people who've replied. But I just wanted to read some of the tweets for anyone who's not had context. This one from Nella Rose, for example. White girls wear weave, Black girls abuse it. Black girls abuse fake eyelashes, man. Hashtag allow it. Hashtag leave it. Yeah. And then she also tweeted something about the Somali community. These times when you're on the bus full of Somalians and it sounds like a fishmonger's market. So like those were some of the tweets that obviously she made when, I mean, I'm not even going to say she was younger because some of the tweets I've heard were age range to 2017. The one thing I will say on my opinions, especially on the tweets about, Black girls, when I first saw them, I was just sad. I think like a lot of people, I was very shocked because Nella Rose, I feel like her platform is very much uplifting Black people. And I think probably that's one of the reasons why it got the most attention, maybe because people were just so shocked. But I think a lot of people, which it's their prerogative how they want to react, but I was just sad when I did see them tweets because I thought of like my younger cousins who are at the age now, and self-hatred is not uncommon. Like people go through it, and I do remember that era on Twitter, and like Twitter at that time was literally brewing self-hatred at that time in the Black community. Like Twitter was a dangerous place, and I just feel like at large she was a product of her circumstances at that time. And if any of you have seen her apology video, yeah, she goes into that a bit more.
Yeah. Naveen, what do you?
Yeah, I agree. Like she's always been honest about the fact that growing up, she was quite ashamed of being African, of being Congolese, and like I've seen her videos where she said that when she was younger, she used to like almost wish she was Jamaican, and like back then it was a time where literally anyone could get it. It was like anyone could get it. So it's not hard to understand how you could be self-hating as a young Black girl in that time. So when I saw those tweets, like Shay said, I was also sad reading it, because I could instantly see that like this was coming from someone who is just deflecting and projecting all of her insecurities onto other people. Like, to be saying, oh, white girls wear weave, Black girls abuse it. It's like, well, you blatantly want to be wearing a weave as well. Like, that's just the only reason you're saying that. And it was like, for people now to twist that and give her so much hate for it, it's clear that like people weren't exposing these tweets to try and shed light on an issue, but more just to cancel her. And it's like people were literally sat ready and waiting for her to do or say something wrong that they could just pounce on. And it's like they're not taking the time to really listen to what she's saying and like accept her apology, because at first it's she didn't reply quick enough, so that means it's insincere. But then when she does reply, took the time to do her makeup and her hair. She clearly isn't genuine, and it's like, I don't like. Did you want her to sit there barefaced and crying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't. What you want from her? Like,
someone
I
even
don't know if any
complained that she did demonetize it, and it was like, how's she trying to make money off her apology? But it's like, look, this is the bag.
That's a job. I feel like
it's funny. Like, you can feel however you want about her monetizing it, but like, at the end of the day, that's her job. That's like, not like, I'm not being funny. I know me, and I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but no one's gonna stop me from getting my bag. Like, I'm any type of thing I'm gonna do. I'm sorry if you want to hate me, but pay my checks. I don't care.
No, I did think though. I thought, like, do you know, me in that situation, I'd be like, well, damn, like, these are cancelling me, so let me just get my last check because this might be my last.
Yeah, and like I think like also because like she deactivated like some of her like social media accounts as well. Yeah. So like I feel like, you know, in this moment in time, like you have to do like what you have to do, and like this is, I don't know, I feel like her monetizing the video is just like,
I don't think it's that deep. Like,
yeah,
like this. I've watched a lot of YouTube outside of just Black YouTubers, and when it comes to like scandals happening, it's only like when I say big YouTubers that will suddenly demonetize a video if it's for certain reasons. Like we like in the Black community, obviously Nella is a big YouTuber, but in terms of the whole YouTube community, she's not as big as we like to think.
So, no, yeah, definitely.
The idea that she would demonetize a video just because Black Twitter is hating on her, to me, it seems ridiculous. People aren't looking at the wider picture. Like, it's not just like a lot of other Black YouTubers who do this purely for fun. Like, this literally is how she pays her bills. Like, why would she demonetize it? Maybe she could have disabled the comments, yeah, but then people would have had something to say about that. Like, oh, so you're gonna apologize, not let me have something to say about it. But
yeah,
I just think that people are just always looking for something to be mad about. And like, at the end of the day, if she apologized, you have to just, in my opinion, you just have to accept it, because you can't make her release another apology video. That's ridiculous. Like, what else is she gonna say?
Exactly. And then in that apology video, I really like how she addressed it straight, like head on. She said, you know what she needed to say. I like the fact that she addressed that people were talking about her mom and like how bad that was. And I feel like she said that, you know, let the dead, you know,
rest,
worry about the dead and stuff, which I think is really important. So that people just, you know, get, you know, context about like, you know, like about people, because this is somebody that's dead, and like people need to understand about, you know, just life and how there's boundaries. I also wanted to say that other people that tweeted some other things as well. Such as like,
if you want me to, I've got them, baby.
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
listen to those.
So if you want, when I was like looking for, you know, the tweets for this episode, I didn't just want to find Nella Roses, because the point of this whole thing yesterday, I don't know, comfort everybody in the world, comfort everybody left, right, and centre, was that it wasn't just Nella, but she got the most. So Tion Wayne, for example, was tweeted saying at one point in 2011, it's because you effing black monkeys don't vote. He also retweeted someone and then like kind of like replied, you guys, I don't have Twitter, I don't understand it. One time me and my friend were stalking her man's ex and I liked the picture. I am inept on Twitter, but so someone said, sometimes I get deceived by an avatar by thinking a dark skin girl is a lighty, then I quickly zoom out, and then he put lol against that. Other people like Mr. 200, whoever, I don't know, aka Toasted Lighty,
It's problematic.
tweeted, yeah, I remember meeting this Insta lighty and she turned out to be darker than dark, fully looking matte black. Yeah, so these are just some of the tweets from males that are not, I'd say personally, no, not even personally, it's just a fact, they're not getting the same kind of attention from a lot of people. So yeah, what do you guys think about that?
I think it's just so reflective of society, because like things can happen, that bad things can be said from like men and women, but yet it's women that will get the brunt of it. And even if it's like, not to excuse it, but even if you can clearly see that for the female counterparts, it's coming from a self-hating place, whereas from men it's purely just a malicious thing, like they were hating on women, whereas women were hating on themselves. Like obviously both are wrong, but like somehow men seem to just get away with it, like no one's bothered. Like they tweet one little "oh I'm sorry" and then everyone's calm, back to kikiing with them on the timeline, whereas she has to put the whole apology video and still no one's believing it, and it's all this and that. And it's like, why is it that a black woman can't just be forgiven, whereas black men are allowed to get away with what they do? It's just a bit.
I think there might be an element as well of like, we just expect it from men, and I know that's so problematic, but I think that is it, because I do think it's so crazy. Like Chunks, I couldn't find his tweet at all, but I was on his Twitter, no idea who this guy is either, not gonna lie, and he literally posted like a meme, and it's like, oh, when I heard what I was trending about, and then it's like, oh, I'm a head on out, like that meme, and like people just liking it, like keying with him. But then Nella Rose was trending for like 24 hours. And I think, like, a lot of the women, I'd say especially Nella, I don't know about other people, but I did view it from a self-hating aspect. And whether that's right or wrong is debatable, but at the end of the day, like, it's a sad thing. And yeah, I would, again, like you said, I want to follow on for that. I'd say like men often project, whereas women just internalize it. Like often you don't see a lot of, like it's less likely, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but often it's less likely for black women to project it onto black men. They're more likely to internalize it usually, or even project it onto other people who are another demographic or group of them, such as like Nella, like she said in her apology video, she said, I wasn't one of them girls who wore weave at that time, so I was jealous of them, so I started to, you know, give them what I felt, or Somalians who are obviously Africans as well, even though even that's beef on the timeline, or Somalis, sorry, they themselves were getting it, because like hurt people at the end of the day hurt people, like it's life. So
I feel like there's also an aspect of like jealousy within it as well, because you know when I feel you say something quite valid there with like the men, it's kind of expected, but also with the men it was like, you know, their target demographic stuff like that is they've not really hurt them, but Nella Rose, she's hurt her target demographic, and you know, it's, I suppose the repercussions of her saying such things to her own fan base, or having had said such things to her own fan base, is what's making people react so wildly. And so many people would love to be in her situation. So this is a nice situation to kind of, you know, take the crown from her and potentially put it on themselves. I don't know. Maybe I'm being...
I feel like that just shows how like how much, you know, it's a lot to be in that YouTube space, that you feel like you have to wait on the downfall of someone else for you to come up. I feel like that's dangerous in itself.
Especially as a black YouTuber, I'd say as well. Like
exactly.
That element.
But yeah, and I also want to make it very clear. I don't think we are not here defending the tweets that anybody said.
No, definitely not.
I think we're just like having a conversation about it, just holistically, as I like to use the word. So we're going to move on. What do you guys think about cancel culture in general? Like, do you think that like it needs to like stop? Like,
no, I think cancel culture is some BS, to be honest.
Same. It's so fake.
Because to an extent,
in what way?
If you say something that upsets somebody, like you can't, like, okay, sometimes there are just some things that you say which are just blatantly gonna upset people. But sometimes you can't control how others will react to what you say. And now, because you've just upset this one person because of something you said that you didn't realize was gonna be that deep, they want to cancel you. Like, there's so many like stand-up comedians stuff for these kind of issues. It's silly.
Yeah, I think cancel culture's become like some next level thing. Like, I agree with cancel culture on the basis of, at the end of the day, influence now, like, as a viewer, you being a supporter of an influence is actually putting like money in their bag. So the same way, say like you don't agree with the a company's policies on, say, like the Modern Day Slavery Act, or, you know, what they're doing for the environment, is the same way I feel like you should have the agency to then be like, well, I don't like what Nella said, so I personally, I'm just not going to view her videos anymore, and that is your prerogative. The thing that I'd say like I have an issue with is everyone's so vocal about it, which again is good, like we're having a discourse on the timeline and stuff, but there's a difference between just being like, yeah, like personally her tweets, like even just like portraying your hurt or your anger towards the tweets, but there's people are reacting on a next level way, like people are calling for her head. Like, that to me is not cancel culture. Cancel, like, even cancelling, I know that it's like more of a blunt word now, but I would just say like this is just me distancing from her work. And a lot of black women, people in just Somali community, that is their prerogative to do that, because at the end of the day, black women were the ones that have been hurt by that, especially like and a lot of the other tweets, especially dark-skinned women, like it's your prerogative who you want to put money into their pockets, because at the end of the day, supporting Nella is putting money in their pockets. If you don't support her ethos, then it's your agency to just be like, nah, I'm not doing it. But people are just, cancel culture now is just some next level thing. Like, she was literally trending for 24 hours for what?
I agree.
Just cancel her and go.
I think cancel culture is manifested into just an excuse for people to be bitter, because it's one thing to withdraw your support from someone, that would be cancelling them, but it's another thing to then go dragging their name through the mud. Like, it's like, me personally, I've cancelled James Charles. I don't agree with anything he does or says. Like, but I don't sit around commenting on his Instagram and doing all this about how much I hate James Charles, because that's not cancelling him. That's just hating. There's a difference between cancelling someone and being a hater, and a lot of people now have like just equated it to being the same thing, and then that's why cancel culture it's so not what it used to be, because it's just turned into, like, instead of cancelling someone or withdrawing support it to equate to whatever it is that they did or however it is that made you feel, everyone's jumping on a bandwagon and just hating on someone for something that, whether they apologized or not, and it's just it doesn't make sense, especially considering the way certain people will be cancelled for something and then certain people aren't when they did the same thing. And it's like, if you were really cancelling people, then you would withdraw support from all of them, but you've not. So it doesn't make any sense anymore. And people are just being very hypocritical, because a lot of people are acting holier than now, like saying they didn't do the exact same thing.
Yeah. So moving on from that, a question that we're going to, I think it's really important actually, in light of this, is are black people their own worst enemy, in terms of how they like treat each other, in terms of like racism, colorism, you know, just how it is. Like,
my issue with a lot of these things, and especially like aspects of colorism, is like, where did colorism come from? Like, I think yeah, the origins of colorism obviously go back to slavery and like just in general divisive techniques that allowed you know, the people in power to oppress people effectively and just do it in a way that yeah, just was easy really and truly, and was just effective. And so then I don't know, these ideologies at the end of the day, they don't just disappear. So I can't say, we are, as the black community, we have our issues and we do need to work on that, but I also always like to never forget like where a lot of things came from. And yeah, like even with the Nella Rose issue, the problem I feel is, the root of the issue is, you know, like, why was she self-hating and where did this come from? And honest to God, I'm just glad that a lot of these people, I don't know Nella Rose's heart, but I would like to think that she has surpassed these ideas, and that to me is a beautiful thing, because a lot of people don't. So I think that should be often the objective. Yeah.
I think it's a difficult question to answer. Like, if black people are their own worst enemy. I think there's definitely reasons why you can say yes, we are. Because too, like, I feel like there's this norm within the black community that, okay, and it's true. Okay, we are in a certain circumstance. You can argue is disadvantaged, and you can even argue it's because of white people. But I feel like too many people, I'm not going to say everybody in the black, but too many people in the black community are milking this circumstance. Because it's like, oh, how come you got fired from your job? Oh, because white person. Oh, how come you're unemployed? Oh, white person. How come this white people? Why? How come that white people? It's like, for how many centuries are we going to be oppressed? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you got to deal with your circumstance and overcome it. Like, and I feel like, you know, that's a message. That's a message that too many people are avoiding in the black community. You know, it's too comfortable. They're very comfortable with just being like, okay, white people this, white people that, and or even whatever else it is that is the issue, and it's holding us back. I guess is what I'm saying more than anything. It's holding us back. Like,
yeah.
if black people, instead of calling, like, for instance, I went to a very predominantly black school, right? I was, you know, top set student, straight A's, not to brag or whatever. Calls me, oh, you're so white, you're so this. It's like, what do you mean I'm so white? If I sold drugs, would you say I'm so white? If you know, if I was doing 419 from day one, I'm so white. So it's like, it's these kind of things. It's like, how, like, to do these kind of like successful behaviors, you associate me with a white person. I talk in clear standard English. You're so white. Like, what? Like, how is that helping a black community advance? So for that reason, I'd have to conclude that black people are their own worst enemy.
See, but my issue then is that often this idea, like these notions, often they're internalized. They're internalized. Say like stuff like that. I've had that, but from my white colleagues, like, oh, one person said to me, what did he say? Yeah, but you're not black. Like, you're not black shine though, because like you don't talk like them lot. Like, you're not that. Like, he was giving me that, you know, oh yeah, you're not that black person, as if it's a compliment. And then when I cussed him out, he was like, oh wait, you're talking black now. This was from a boy who, his vocabulary and my vocabulary, they just could not compare. But it's again these ideologies, these ideas of what it is to be black, what it is to be any other different minorities, and what's the kind of social characteristics that are associated with this, are rooted in, you know, historical, in just history and stuff like that. And I don't know, like, I do often battle with the idea of when should black people be held accountable, but I also don't like to then put all the blame on black people, because we didn't learn this behaviour from nowhere. We didn't come out self-hating. It came from somewhere. And so even with colorism, going back to that, often in Leeds, a lot of the Caribbean community, which is often why I would often gravitate towards my African counterparts, was because a lot of them were just so colorist, especially the men. And especially in high school, I had a battle of, I hate you lot so much with a passion for speaking about black women, with black mothers who are like, some of these boys that I rate your mum, yeah, and I'm just looking at you lot like, wow. I'm upset, like. But then when does the accountability start? And that's what I've always battled with. So in the line of are black people their worst enemy, that's the issue. Like, do you hold people accountable, or do you also look at that they're a product of their circumstances? Because like Nella, like so many people, they are a product of their circumstances. Hurt people, and people just use this hurt in a different way. Like me personally, and other people around me, when we've experienced certain things, it's made us push back against it more. Whereas other people often, they hear certain thing too many times. Like a lot of light-skinned people, you guys will have seen my picture at the start. I am a light-skinned girl. A lot of light-skinned girls I notice who don't rate you, man. They'll be told, "Oh, you're a pretty little light," and they're like, "Oh yeah, no." Sis. Like, people just react to things in different ways, and it's just so complicated, because who do you blame? And I think that's what a lot of the issue is on the timeline now as well, because people don't people are arguing with each other about who's to blame, Nella, or it's her ideas, and other people are like, yeah, but she's hurt. So yeah.
I think what you said about like, when do you take accountability, was like really, I want to like go on from that, because I think to say in general that black people are their own worst enemy is far too dismissive of just everything going on in society. But in certain instances and in certain situations, then black people can be their own worst enemy. But I think it's a bit too much to say that they just generally are, because I just think that the minute we can take accountability for how we've internalized things, or how we've been conditioned to do certain things, is the minute then, once you've already taken that accountability, but yet you're still playing into it, that's when you can say you're your own worst enemy. Up until that point, then you are just a product of your environment, because if you don't know any better, because when you are in the state of conditioning, you essentially don't know any better than what you are doing, and so you literally, you can't take accountability of something that you don't know that you're doing. So like,
this is a word.
Blame someone for doing certain things when they really don't know any better. But at the same time, even now when people do take accountability, they only do it really surface level. Like, people educate themselves to the extent that they know that, self-hate is a thing and that colorism is a thing, but it's like people just learn these terms and they don't really get to the root of what that means. Like, people don't understand fully what colorism entails. It's not just, sometimes it extends to the point of featureism sometimes, and then again, a lot of people just like to take a new word and then just act like it's a new thing, and they don't really get to the grips with what that actually means, and what that means to internalize it, and what that means to project it, and what that does to your psyche. Because a lot of people just like to think, okay, they were self-hating, they were insecure, and then just leave it at that. But they don't really understand that what insecurity actually is. And so, like you said, hurt people, but a lot of people don't really like to accept that hurt people can hurt others, because just because they were hurt, they didn't hurt other people. They think that everybody thinks the same. And a lot of people like to think that, I think this way, so I assume everybody else thinks this way, when that's not the case at all. And yet, once people start to really understand that and educate themselves about the people's personal sociology, because it's not like when people talk about society, all they do is think about what they experienced and what they saw. But if you take the time to understand someone else's personal experience, then you can understand how they ended up in the situations they did, and how ended up they saying the things that they did. Just because, but two black women don't have the same life, so I don't understand how people can expect two black women to have navigated the same, and then to think the same, and then to say the same things. It's like, so when I see all these tweets of people saying, when I was 14 I wasn't saying all of this, and it's like, okay, well, good for you, but another 14-year-old girl did. So it's like, in that moment they might have been their own worst enemy, but they didn't know they were fighting a battle with themselves. So
this is a word.
That's so true. What did you say, William? I just want to say this very, very quickly. I feel like Black people and Black in general have just been they've just been put into like I think it's very generational and it's a curse, and I feel like it's quite spiritual as well. Like if you look at what happened from the Israelites and when they went from when they were going from Egypt and all of that, like there's a mentality that needs to be deconstructed and just broken down so that we can all help each other. Right. So like, comment, subscribe. Thank you all for being on this episode with us. And drop down your comments and we'll
let's have a discourse. Let's have a discourse in the comments, guys. Everyone be
Thanks again for having me, guys.
No, the
it's okay.
Oh, this was amazing.
Well done. Thank you. It was a word.
No, it was a word.
Yeah, like you just.
I would just like to end on a sentence. Either you defeat your circumstance, or your circumstance will defeat you.